Nicknamed the Princess of Pop, Kylie Minogue lives up to her title and is known for her euphoric dance tracks. With a career spanning close to 40 years now, Kylie has never repeated the same record twice. Even though you could use the word dance pop to describe most of her musical catalog, she has done different styles of the same genre. After the commercial failure of Impossible Princess, her most experimental album to date, she steered her way back to her dance music roots with Light Years. Her follow-up album, Fever, will be her most successful album until this day. With the global hit Can't Get You Out of My Head and the other successful singles of the album, there were high expectations for Kylie to follow up with a similar album. 2 years after Fever's release, she would drop her 9th studio album, Body Language. However, to the general public and the fans' surprise, the album would not have the dance floor vibe that everyone was anticipating. In this video, I want to explore Kylie's most R&B influenced album to date, Body Language, its history, the tracklist, and its long-lasting legacy. Even though she's known for making dance music, she's no stranger to experimenting with her music a few times throughout her career. The first time she ever did it was with Rhythm of Love when she broke from the teen pop music imposed upon her by her last label. Then she would go for a more alternative indie sound for Impossible Princess, a feat that almost killed her career. And then there was Body Language. Although Body Language was intended to be a dance pop album based on electronic music from the 80s, the actual album will be far from the sound she had intended to make. She had even brought back some previous collaborators, even the ones working on Can't Get You Out of My Head, so Kylie was clearly intending to do a sound that wasn't too left field for her. But fans that had expected the same new disco and Europop sound in Fever will be disappointed after listening to this album. After Fever's global success, one will expect her next album to be a Fever 2.0 or something along that lines. But her next album will be instead more urban and American in sound. It would lean more towards synth-pop, R&B, and hip-hop. This was a creative direction that was clearly meant to target the American market, whose charts were dominated by R&B and hip-hop at the time. It's often why this album is considered her first attempt to break into the country. Personally, I think it's a really misguided direction if that's really her intention, since most of the Fever singles did amazing in the country and is a mostly disco-influenced album, but that may just be the benefit of hindsight. Alongside the photoshoot she did for Body Language and Slow's album cover, she would take inspiration from the French model Brigitte Bardot for most of her looks this era. We shot it on location in the south of France, so it was easy to channel the spirit of Bardot. She's a great iconic reference, particularly that period where she was working with Serge Gainsbourg. I thought it was the perfect mix of coquette, kitten, and rock and roll. Body Language will be officially released on November 10, 2003, opening to 43,000 copies for her first week sales in the US, peaking at number 42 on the Billboard 200. Her album will instead do much better in the UK and Australia, her main markets. She ended up selling close to 400,000 copies in the UK and 140,000 copies in Australia in total. One of the main criticisms Body Language received is a lack of danceable songs compared to her last album and the inclusion of ballads. I don't get either of the criticism, since if the focus on the album was danceability, the lead single would not have been Slow. So I don't understand the expectations they had going into this record, nor do I understand why they think the ballads such as Obsession and Chocolate sound out of place. Obsession is still in the style of Body Language's funky sound, although Chocolate understandably is the most experimental track on the album. Body Language of course wouldn't be a full 180 from the music Kylie used to make. She just added a few extra elements and played around with them in the tracks. The album will focus less on being catchy and more on creating an atmospheric sound, with the lead single, Slow, being a rather minimal song. But I don't see those qualities as dragging down the album. They make the record much better actually. If you go through her albums one by one, Body Language still remains one of her most innovative works, and is considered a breath of fresh air from the dance pop she usually does. For the next section, I will be breaking down her tracklist song by song, and see what sets them apart from the rest of her discography. With the more minimal techno-influenced track Slow being the opener song of the album, it will be indicative of the rest of the album sound. The song will also be her last number 1 on the UK and her last entry in the Billboard Hot 100 to date. Released a week before the album's official release, Slow will be unlike anything she has released at all. The song is described as an 80s-inspired electro-pop and synth-pop track, already a far difference from any of her other lead singles. What I love about this song is that she decided to show off her lower and sultry vocals, something that is still kind of rare in her discography. The music video accompanying the song also has a more minimalistic approach and still remains one of her most memorable videography to date. With Kylie only in a swimming suit, the video has her in the center of many other beach models, performing a simple but sensual choreography. Due to the impact of the music video and the song itself, Slow is still seen as one of her classics to this day. And I agree, the song is just really good and it's a one-of-a-kind song to be honest. Still Standing would return back to her roots of dance pop. Lyrically, the song is a double entendre, being both a love song and a meta-commentary on her career and musical direction. I'm Still Standing, Keeping You Dancing, yeah, could mean her career is still thriving after all this time, and that her music still makes people wanna dance. I would say the chorus is the most obvious signifier of the song's true meaning, where she says, "Do you wanna hear me sing? 'Cause I don't think I wanna stop. Guess who's back on top?" The next track, Secret Take You Home, is a synth pop track with a buzzing bass line and a whistling melody. The song will even feature Kylie doing a little rap verse. To be honest, this song does a great job of making such an earworm because the instrumental lives rent-free in my head. Promises is one of the 80s influenced tracks on the album. It masks the heartbreaking lyrics about having her heart and her promises with her lover broken under a synthesized instrumental. The song will also have a really earwormy instrumental similar to Secret Take You Home. You know, I never realized how strong the first half of this album was until subsequent listens. The funky, sweet music is one of the more loved tracks on the album, and it's loved for a reason. On the track, she would use the metaphor of making music and demos to compare it to love. The song's hook has also been compared to early Prince, and to me, it just does a great job of incorporating the 80s music style with her own. The next song, Red-Blooded Woman, will be one of the most hip-hop influenced singles in her career, while still utilizing the synth-pop sound. This is one of the best songs on the album, if not the best. Red-Blooded Woman has also been compared to Timbaland's works, and I can see the similarities with the beats and such. I also love that the song goes all out on a hip-hop sound without holding anything back. Obviously, Red-Blooded Woman is jarring when placed in the middle of her musical catalog, but half of this album is kinda jarring too. Now, I understand that Slow was the best single to bridge the gap between Fever and Body Language, but this song would have been a better choice if she wanted to target the American audience. I can see this becoming a hit over there. I just feel like this is a sentiment shared among everyone listening to the album. It isn't that Slow is worse or anything, it's just a song that will not smash America's charts. The final single of the album will be Chocolate, released 4 months after Red-Blooded Woman. It is a ballad that infuses disco, a music genre called Quiet Storm, and funk. Originally meant to feature the rapper Ludacris, it was cut after information about the leaked collaboration wasn't well received. Like it or not, this song is one of the most unique tracks in her discography. It has a dreamy vibe to it that isn't seen much in her later or even earlier records. Chocolate sounds like a mix of her 1994 self-titled album sound and her Fever sound. That's why the song is just so interesting. It sounds like a mix of her past sounds. In the track, she experiments with singing in a breathy head voice and compares love to being melted into chocolate. What I find interesting about the music video is just how much it's influenced by old French movie and fashion. Nothing comes to my mind specifically regarding the influences and references, but from the choreography and the cinematography to the outfits she donned on, the creative direction was clearly there. The track that comes after, Obsession, will be one of the more R&B influenced songs on the album. She sings about leaving a narcissistic man who's too caught up with himself to really focus on her. This song is one of my favorites on the album from start to finish, so I don't get why some Kylie fans call this song one of the weaker tracks on the album. I also really love the "Obsession is a dangerous state of mind" ad-lib towards the end of the song. Obsession really deserved to be the fourth single of the album. I still haven't found out why Kylie cut the era short, to be honest. If anyone knows or has any theories, please comment down below. I Feel For You will be one of the album's most polarizing, if not the most polarizing track. It's seen as an extremely goofy and camp track akin to her Light Years track, Your Disco Needs You. Mostly because of that weird voice saying something unintelligible after her lines. Mixing in jazz with disco and funk, the song would remain one of the album's standouts. I can actually hear the song being on her newest album, Tension, if it was reworked a bit. The more chill Someday has Kylie singing about her recognition of her own self-worth, accompanied by a male voice chiming in during the bridge to comfort her. Although I don't mind the change in tempo, this song is often cited as the track that ruins the album's momentum. The next track, Loving Days, will be the track that resembles her 1994 self-titled album sound the most, with her singing about spending her days with her lover. She even gets to show off her vocal chops towards the end of the song, with a few high notes and a few ad-libs here and there. The album would ultimately close off with a more mellowed out After Dark, a track made by the same producer and writers as Can't Get You Out of My Head. On the song, she will sing about her intoxicating desire to be intimate with her lover. It's actually a surprisingly danceable track that also condenses the album's 80s electropop and club sound into one song, making it a perfect closer. Although the album wouldn't sell as much or was as successful as Fever, it would go on to perform just fine. As of today, the album sold a respectable amount of 1.5 million copies worldwide. Slow will go on to be nominated for the Grammy's Best Dance Recording Award, but lost to Britney Spears for Toxic. Unironically, the song was offered to Kylie at first for this album, but she turned it down. I think it was a good choice, to be honest. Britney really made the song her own. Kylie wasn't held back by this album's commercial performance, of course. She will continue to dominate other country charts with her next albums, X and Aphrodite. The Sia co-produced Kiss Me Once will mark her second attempt at trying to crack into the American market, with varying degrees of success. Golden will be her next experimental and most involved album, mixing country in with dance music. Her record after Golden, Disco, will have her even more involved in the making of her own music. And as we all know, Padam Padam will ultimately become her first song in a while to be a hit globally. It introduced a whole new audience to her. It still stands to be seen if Kylie is able to hit big again with her next album. I hope she does. More people deserve to know about her and her amazing music. Until this day, Body Language still remains Kylie's most underrated record, and is often dismissed as her dropping her dance music to market to the American audience. I do think the album was a bit of a misstep career-wise, but I respect her for that. I respect her for trying something new. Despite being famous for her dance music, she forgo that for a more urban record. What I don't see people say much is how risky it was for her to release Slow as a lead single. Maybe because it was hot off the heel of Fever's success and was unable to fail. But it was unconventional for its time, and it still is to this day. I don't see any period in time where the song was able to be a hit. Even the singles of her most experimental album, Impossible Princess, was still commercially appealing in some way. And yet, it's what makes this record so interesting. It's like a mix of Kylie's indie era during the mid-90s and her mainstream dance music. It's a perfect balance between the two. I get why people don't love it on first listens, since it doesn't exactly go fully experimental or fully dance pop. For anyone wanting a good synth pop record that has elements of hip hop and R&B, this is the one for you. It isn't as fully hip hop and R&B as some people makes it sound, but it's definitely more distinct from her other dance pop records. I just hope Kylie one day makes a fully R&B record though, and does a song like Red Blooded Woman. I just feel like she will do it so well.